You don't talk about what you feel, not because you can't, but because something in you learned a long time ago that it's safer not to. And now it happens automatically. You listen more than you speak. You notice things other people miss. You carry your reactions quietly, while everyone else expresses theirs in real time. People probably see you as calm, stable, in control. But that's not the real story, because the part of you that stays silent isn't just quiet, it's managing something. Most people think this is just personality. I'm not expressive. I don't like opening up. But if that were true, you wouldn't still be thinking about things hours later. You wouldn't replay conversations in your head. You wouldn't rewrite what you should have said. You wouldn't feel yourself adjusting your reaction before anyone even sees it. That's not personality. That's training. Picture this. You're in a conversation. Something small happens. A comment, a tone, a look. And you feel something rise. Not fully, just the beginning of it. Before it even becomes clear, you step in, you analyze it, you soften it. You tell yourself, it's not a big deal. Let it go. Don't make it awkward. Not after the feeling, during it. And that changes everything. Because now you're not experiencing emotions fully. You're editing them in real time. And over time, that creates a problem most people don't notice until much later. You stop reacting to what actually happens and start reacting to what your mind allows you to feel. At some point, expressing yourself didn't go well. Maybe you were ignored. Maybe you were misunderstood. Maybe your emotions were too much for someone else to handle. So your brain adapted. But not by removing emotions, by controlling them. It learned something dangerous, that your emotions create problems. So now, before you even think about speaking, your brain filters what you feel, not what you say, what you feel. You might call yourself independent, low maintenance, not emotional. But those labels aren't accurate. Because not expressing emotion is not the same as not feeling it. In fact, it usually means the opposite. You feel things deeply, but you don't let them stay raw long enough to understand them. You process too fast. You contain too early. And over time, that creates distance. Not from other people, from yourself. You feel something, but it's vague, hard to explain, even in your own head. Not because the emotion is weak, but because it keeps getting interrupted over and over and over again. Until eventually, your brain stops letting emotions fully form at all. And this is where it shifts, because now it's not just about being quiet, it's about disconnection. Silence was never the problem. It was the solution, a very effective one. It gave you control. Control over what you show, control over what you feel, control over how much anyone can affect you. But that control came with a trade-off. And if you don't see it clearly, you'll keep protecting yourself in a way that slowly disconnects you. So the real question isn't, why don't you open up? It's, what are you making sure never happens again? Keeping everything inside feels safe. You avoid conflict. You avoid vulnerability. You avoid being exposed in ways you can't control. But there's a cost. You don't just hide emotions from others. You start losing clarity on them yourself. You feel something, but it's unclear, unfinished, hard to access. And that's not because the emotion isn't there. it's because it never got the chance to fully exist. So what is your mind actually protecting you from? Not just rejection, not just being misunderstood, something more specific. The moment you lose control over what you feel. At some point, something hit too hard, too fast, or too openly, and you couldn't regulate it, so your brain stepped in. Not by shutting emotions off, but by stopping them earlier, before they could fully form, before they could overwhelm you. So now, it feels like control, but in reality, you're experiencing a filtered version of yourself. And here's the part most people never realize. The same system that protects you is also the one keeping you stuck. Because when you stop expressing, you stop being understood. And when that keeps happening, you start believing no one ever will. But that belief isn't truth, it's repetition. You were never just a quiet person. You were someone who adapted intelligently to something that once felt overwhelming. But what protected you then might be limiting you now. And the moment you see that pattern, you create space, a small gap between what you feel and what you do with it. Not forced expression, not oversharing, just awareness. Because the goal isn't to tell everyone everything. It's to stop hiding things from yourself. And once that starts, something changes. Because there's a deeper pattern behind why some people feel safe being themselves and others don't. And when you see that, you understand more than you expected.